Exclusive. Leaked. And what just dropped might be one of the most unbelievable moments hip-hop has seen in years. Because 50 Cent just did something nobody thought he would actually follow through on. He released a documentary. And not just a documentary. One that allegedly dives straight into T.I., his family, and most shockingly, King Harris. Now the moment clips from this project started leaking online, everything changed. We're talking about unseen footage. Alleged behind-the-scenes conversations. Moments that fans are calling too personal to ever be public. And according to insiders, some of what's shown in this documentary wasn't meant to be seen at all. But here's where it gets even crazier. Because it's not just the documentary itself that has the internet in chaos. It's how other rappers are reacting to it. Some are defending T.I., saying this crosses a line, calling it exploitation. Others, they are siding with 50, saying this is exposure, saying the truth finally coming out. And then there are those who aren't picking sides, but are hinting that what's in that documentary is only a fraction of what really happened. We're talking cryptic tweets, deleted posts, voice notes that surfaced and vanished within hours, and one alleged message that's now going viral. You're laughing now, but when the full footage drops, nobody gonna be joking. Now whether that's real or not, nobody knows. But the timing, too perfect. Because ever since that documentary started circulating, the entire industry has been on edge. And trust me, what these rappers are saying behind the scenes is way more intense than what you're seeing publicly. And once we break down all the reactions, you're gonna realize this situation is way bigger than just a documentary. It's about loyalty, respect, and secrets that might have been buried for years. And what comes next might blow this whole thing wide open. To understand why this documentary hit the culture like a shockwave, you have to zoom out, because this didn't start with a trailer, a clip, or even a rumor. This has been brewing for years, and the key players have been circling each other long before cameras ever started rolling. At the center of everything is 50 Cent, and if you've followed his career, you already know he doesn't just make content, he weaponizes it. Over the past decade, he's shifted from music dominance into media power, building a reputation for turning real-life conflicts into must-watch television. From executive producing to storytelling, 50 has made it clear, if there's a narrative, he wants to control it. And here's the thing, 50 doesn't move randomly. Every project, every post, every accidental leak, it's calculated. So when news broke that he was working on a documentary involving T.I. and King Harris, people didn't see it as content. They saw it as a move. Because T.I. isn't just any rapper. He's someone who built his brand on authority, intelligence, and legacy. For years, he's been viewed as one of hip-hop's most strategic voices, someone who speaks with intention and carries himself like a leader, both in the industry and in his personal life. And a huge part of that public image, family, T.I. has always presented himself as a father first, someone focused on discipline, structure, and preparing his kids for the realities of the world. His parenting style has been talked about, debated, and even criticized, but it's always been part of his identity. Then came King Harris. And that's where things started to shift. Because King didn't follow the same script people expected. He didn't stay quiet. He didn't move behind the scenes. He came out loud, confident, and unfiltered, especially on social media. And over time, his presence started generating attention and controversy. Clips of him speaking boldly, Moments where he pushed back against narratives. Situations where fans felt like his perspective didn't always align with the image T.I. had built. And that created tension, not just within the audience, but within the story itself. Because now you had two narratives existing at the same time. T.I., the controlled, legacy-focused figure. King Harris, the outspoken, unpredictable voice. And when those two worlds overlap publicly, it creates friction. Now add 50 Cent into that mix. Because his history with T.I. has never been completely smooth. There have been subtle jabs. Moments of tension. Situations where both names ended up in the same conversation, but never fully resolved. And that's important. Because when someone like 50, who is known for trolling, exposing, and pushing buttons, decides to create a documentary involving someone like T.I., people don't assume it's neutral. They assume it's intentional. Now let's talk about the industry environment around all of this. Because hip-hop today is different. Everything is content. Everything is visible. And the line between personal life and public narrative, almost non-existent. Which means family moments, conversations, even conflicts, can become entertainment overnight. And once that happens, it's out of your control. That's exactly what makes this documentary so controversial. Because according to early reactions and alleged leaks, this isn't just a surface-level project. This allegedly includes behind-the-scenes footage, personal interactions, moments that were never meant for public consumption. And if that's true, then this isn't just storytelling. It's exposure. Now here's where things start to feel inevitable. Because over the past year, tension involving King Harris, T.I., and outside commentary, especially from figures like 50 Cent, has been building. Small moments, subtle reactions, things that didn't seem major at the time. But now, they look like pieces of a bigger puzzle. Fans started noticing patterns. Old clips resurfaced. Moments that once felt normal now feel loaded. Like they were leading to something. And now that something is here. A documentary. Backed by one of the most strategic minds in hip-hop media. Focused on one of the most image-conscious figures in the culture. And involving a family dynamic that's already been under public scrutiny. That combination. Explosive. Because this isn't just about content. It's about control of the narrative. Who tells the story? How it's told. And what gets revealed. And once that documentary started circulating, even in small clips, the reactions didn't just come from fans. They came from the industry. Rappers. Influencers. People who understand how dangerous a project like this can be. Because once something like this is out, you can't take it back. And that's exactly why the reactions have been so intense. Because this isn't just entertainment. This is reputation. This is legacy. And possibly, this is truth being revealed in a way nobody can control. Which brings us to the moment everything exploded. Because once rappers started reacting publicly, that's when the situation stopped being contained. And turned into something way bigger than anyone expected. And this is where everything completely explodes. Because the moment clips from 50 Cent's documentary started leaking, the entire industry went from watching quietly to reacting loudly. It didn't start with a full release. It started with a clip. Short, grainy, but clear enough to shake everything. In the footage, you allegedly see King Harris speaking candidly, way more candid than people have ever seen before. No filters. No performance. Just raw energy. And the line that set everything off. I ain't asked to be part of nobody's image. That sentence. That's what triggered the chaos. Because now it didn't sound like confidence. It sounded like frustration. And within minutes, that clip was everywhere. Reposted. Remixed. Analyzed. But that was just the beginning. Because seconds later in that same footage, the camera cuts. Different angle. Different tone. And now you allegedly see T.I. responding. Calm at first. Measured. But clearly tense. He allegedly says, "You don't understand what comes with this name." That line hit like a warning. Because now it wasn't just a conversation. It was a clash. Identity versus legacy. Freedom versus control. And once that clip hit social media, rappers started reacting immediately. First up, one Atlanta artist went live and said, "That ain't content, that's family business." That clip went viral in minutes. Then another rapper tweeted, "50 playing a dangerous game putting that out." No names mentioned. But everyone knew who he meant. And then came the reactions that shocked people. Because not everyone was defending T.I. Some were siding with 50. One artist posted, "You've been protecting images for too long. Let the truth come out." That line divided the internet instantly. Because now this wasn't just about the documentary. It was about something bigger. Truth versus loyalty. Exposure versus respect. And just when people thought they had seen the most intense part, the first twist dropped. Because another clip leaked. Longer. Clearer. And way more uncomfortable. In this footage, King Harris allegedly says, "Every time I speak, it's a problem. But when I stay quiet, it's still a problem." That line changed everything. Because now it felt deeper. Like this wasn't about one moment. It was about a pattern. And then, right after that, there's a moment in the clip where T.I. allegedly responds. Because everything you do reflects on something bigger than you. Now that exchange. That's what people can't stop replaying. Because it perfectly captures the conflict. One side trying to define themselves. The other trying to protect something larger. And then came the leak that nobody expected. Screenshots. Alleged internal messages. Supposedly from someone involved in the production of the documentary. Now again, unverified. But detailed enough to go viral instantly. One message reads, "50 knew this part would cause backlash. That's why he pushed it first." Another one says, "They got way worse footage. They just testing reactions right now." That line. That's what made everything spiral. Because now the question wasn't just, "What did we see?" It was, "What haven't we seen yet?" And just like that, the stakes got higher. Because if those messages are even partially true, then what we're watching is just the beginning. Meanwhile, 50 Cent responded in the most 50 way possible. No explanation. No denial. Just a post. A simple caption. "People only mad when the camera don't lie." That line sent the internet into chaos. Because now it felt like confirmation. Like he wasn't backing down. Like he wanted this reaction. And that's when things turned from controversy to full-blown war. Because now you've got leaked documentary footage exposing personal moments. Rappers publicly choosing sides. Alleged insider messages hinting at even more unreleased content. and the creator of the documentary, fueling the fire instead of putting it out. But here's the part that flipped everything again. Because late that night, a final clip surfaced. Short, almost hidden, but powerful. In that clip, King Harris allegedly says, "They think this story belonged to them, but I got my own version." That line, that's when people realized, this isn't just about what 50 released. This is about what might come next. Because if King Harris decides to tell his side, then everything we've seen so far might only be one piece of a much bigger story. And trust me, if that happens, this situation won't just stay messy. It'll explode. And just when it felt like the situation had already gone too far, that's when it went completely off the rails. Because overnight, this wasn't just about leaked clips anymore. This turned into a full-scale industry meltdown. We're talking rappers going live at 3 a.m., private group chats getting exposed, fan pages posting receipts every hour, and the documentary from 50 Cent. It wasn't just being watched. It was being dissected like evidence in a trial. Now here's where things take a serious turn. Because a massive thread started trending, and this one hit different. The title: "Everything They Didn't Want You to Notice in the Documentary." And once people clicked in, it was over. Because the thread didn't just talk about what was said. It pointed out what was shown. Background moments, facial expressions, cutaway shots, little details that most people missed. One post highlighted a scene where T.I. is seen sitting silently while King Harris speaks, and the caption read, "Look at his face. That ain't anger, that's calculation." That interpretation blew up instantly. Because now people weren't just watching the documentary. They were analyzing behavior, intent, subtext. And then came the first shocking reveal. Because someone slowed down a clip from the documentary and claimed there was audio in the background that wasn't meant to be heard. Faint, almost hidden. But according to those analyzing it, you could hear a voice, allegedly part of the production team, say, "Make sure this part stays in." That line set the internet on fire. Because now the question became, wait, what exactly is being curated here? Is this documentary telling the full story? Or is it shaping one? And suddenly, everything felt different. Because if that audio is real, then this isn't just exposure. It's editing. It's narrative control. And that made people look at 50 Cent differently. Because now instead of just reacting to the content, they started questioning the creator. Was he revealing truth? Or constructing it? And just when that debate started heating up, another leak dropped. And this one, way more direct. An alleged DM conversation between two industry insiders. Again, unverified. But the impact? Immediate. One message read, 50 got access to way more than what he showed. The reply, he's saving the rest for later. This just phase 1. Phase 1. That phrase alone changed everything. Because now this didn't feel like a documentary. It felt like a rollout. A strategy. A slow release of information designed to keep people talking. And if that's true, then what we've seen so far is just the beginning. Meanwhile, rappers started reacting even louder. One artist posted, "I don't care what's in that doc, family shouldn't be content." That got massive support. But then another rapper responded directly, You'll only say that when it's your family. The truth don't got rules. And just like that, the industry split right down the middle. Because this wasn't just about TI anymore. This was about a bigger question. How far is too far when it comes to exposing the truth? And then came the moment that flipped everything again. Because late that night, a new clip surfaced. Not from the documentary. Not from social media. But allegedly from behind the scenes. In the clip, you can hear a voice, claimed by some to be King Harris, saying, they think this is their story to tell, but they don't even got the full version. That line hit hard. Because now it wasn't just about reacting to what was released. It was about what was missing. What wasn't shown. What wasn't included. And then came the second shocking reveal. Because minutes after that clip went viral, another post appeared. From a page that had been posting insider info all day. And the caption, King got his own footage. That's it. No explanation. No proof. Just that statement. But it shook everything. Because now people are asking, wait, what if there's another version of this story? What if King Harris has footage? Messages? Context? That completely changes everything. And if that's true, then this situation is about to go from one-sided narrative to full-blown war of stories. Because now it's not just about what 50 released. It's about what hasn't been released yet. And who's going to drop it first. Because if King Harris really decides to respond with his own version, then everything we've seen so far might get flipped upside down again. And trust me, if that happens, this won't just be drama anymore. It'll be something the entire industry can't ignore. And at this point, the situation didn't just stay inside hip-hop. It spilled everywhere. Because once those clips, leaks, and reactions started stacking up, the entire internet turned into one giant debate stage. We're talking about timelines completely flooded. Trending hashtags changing every hour. And one thing became clear real fast. This wasn't just about a documentary anymore. This was a culture moment. Now the reactions completely split. You had one side riding hard for TI. They were saying things like, this ain't content, this is somebody's family. 50 crossed a line this time. You don't put personal moments out like that. To them, this documentary felt like betrayal. Like something private got turned into entertainment for views. And they weren't just fans. Some industry voices were echoing the same thing. One well-known figure posted, respect still matters. Everything ain't for the camera. That line went viral instantly. Because it tapped into something deeper. But then you had the other side. And they were just as loud. They were backing 50 Cent. This is exposure, not exploitation. You're mad because it's real. Truth don't need permission. That perspective hit different. Because now it wasn't about crossing a line. It was about revealing what's been happening. And suddenly, the conversation turned philosophical. Truth versus loyalty. Reality versus image. And the internet loves that kind of debate. Then came the middle group, the observers. The ones not picking sides, but asking questions. Why does this feel edited? What's missing from these clips? Why drop this now? Those questions started trending too. Because the more people watched, the more they realized something felt incomplete. Like pieces were being shown, but not the whole picture. Meanwhile, influencers jumped in heavy. Big platforms. Millions of followers. Breaking everything down like investigators. One viral creator said, "This isn't just a documentary, this is narrative control in real time." That clip. Everywhere. Because it introduced a new angle. That maybe this wasn't about truth or betrayal, but about who gets to tell the story. Then came the memes. And they were ruthless. Clips of King Harris speaking got remixed. Old interviews of T.I. got edited into new contexts. Captions like, "When your life becomes someone else's content." Some were funny. Some were uncomfortable. But all of them kept the story alive. And then, right when things couldn't get any louder, 50 Cent made another move. This time, no words. No caption. Just a post. A still frame from the documentary. Dark lighting. Tense expression. And that was it. But the message? Loud. Because now it felt like he was letting the content speak for itself. Like he didn't need to explain anything. And that made people even more suspicious. Because when someone stays that calm in the middle of chaos, it usually means they know something others don't. Meanwhile, blogs and media outlets went into overdrive. Headlines everywhere. Rappers divided over explosive documentary. 50 Cent sparks industry debate. Fans question missing context. And once mainstream coverage hits, the story multiplies. Now people who weren't even following hip-hop like that are suddenly invested. Reacting. Sharing opinions. Adding fuel. And then came the moment that really kept the tension high. A popular commentator went live and said, "This ain't about who's right or wrong anymore, it's about who got the full story." That line stuck. Because it shifted everything. Now the focus isn't, "What did we see?" It's, "What haven't we seen yet?" And that's what's keeping this situation alive. Because right now, nobody feels like they have the complete picture. And in a situation like this, that's the most dangerous place to be. Because the moment new information drops, everything could flip again. And based on what insiders are hinting at, that moment might be closer than people think. And just when it felt like the story had reached its peak, when the internet had picked sides, the industry had spoken, and the documentary had already shaken everything it could, that's when the final twist dropped. And this one changed the entire narrative. Because out of nowhere, a new file started circulating. Not from 50 Cent. Not from blogs. Not from fan pages. But from an anonymous source that hadn't posted anything before. The file was labeled, "Unused footage, do not release." Now the moment people saw that title, they knew this wasn't normal. Because if everything we've already seen caused this much chaos, what could possibly be in the footage that didn't make it into the documentary? Within minutes, clips from that file started surfacing. Short. Fragmented. But enough to change everything. Because in this footage, the tone was completely different. No confrontation. No tension. Just a conversation. And in one of the clips, King Harris is seen laughing. Relaxed. Comfortable. And sitting right next to T.I. No signs of conflict. No signs of pressure. Just normal. That alone confused people. Because it didn't match what the documentary showed. But then came the moment that flipped everything. Because in that same footage, King Harris allegedly says, People only see what get picked. They don't see what get left out. That line. That's what sent the internet into complete shock. Because now it felt like confirmation. Confirmation that what we saw might not be the full story. And then, right after that, T.I. allegedly responds with something even more telling. That's how narratives work. Those two lines together. Explosive. Because now the question isn't just about the documentary anymore. It's about editing, selection, framing, and suddenly, the spotlight shifted directly onto 50 Cent. Because if this footage is real, then what he released was only a version, not the whole truth. But here's where it gets even more intense. Because shortly after those clips started trending, they disappeared. Deleted. Removed. Gone. No explanation. No follow-up. Just gone. And that made everything worse. Because now people are asking, who took it down? Why was it taken down so fast? And what part of that footage were we not supposed to see? Because let's be real. On the internet, things don't just vanish like that unless someone wants them to. And that's when the final layer of this situation started forming. Because now this isn't just about reactions. It's not just about a documentary. It's about control. Who controls the footage? Who controls the narrative? Who decides what the public gets to see? And just when things couldn't get any more intense, King Harris made one final move. A post. No video. No explanation. Just one line. They told their story, now watch when I tell mine. That's it. And that line. That's what turned this from a controversy into a countdown. Because now everyone's waiting. Waiting to see if King Harris actually drops his version. Waiting to see if more footage leaks. Waiting to see if T.I. responds again. Because if that happens, this situation won't just escalate. It'll explode all over again. And the scariest part, we still don't know who's holding the full story. Or what's coming next. But one thing is clear. This isn't over. Not even close. And now it all comes down to you, because this situation is way too deep to just sit back and scroll past. After everything we just broke down, the leaked clips, the reactions, the unused footage, and those final posts, I need to know. Who do you believe? Do you think 50 Cent is exposing the truth the industry tried to hide? Or do you think he's carefully editing a narrative to make things look a certain way? And what about T.I. and King Harris? Are they victims of the spotlight? Or is there something they haven't told us yet? Because that last line, now watch when I tell mine, that wasn't just a post. That felt like a warning. So drop your thoughts in the comments right now. Don't just say team this or team that, break it down. What do you think is really going on behind the scenes? And what do you think is about to come next? Also, if you made it this far, you already know we're not just covering surface level drama. We're digging into the details. The hidden moments. The things most people miss. So go ahead, hit that like button if this story caught you off guard even a little. Subscribe right now and turn on notifications, because the second King Harris drops his side, or if more footage leaks, or if anyone responds again, you're gonna want that update immediately. And trust me, the way this ended, it didn't feel like closure. It felt like the beginning of something even bigger. So stay locked in, because the next drop in this story might change everything again.